Things are moving in Blatten. The army's there. I told you they're working on the Blatten Lake, the Lake Blatten, how they call this now. And there's relief for the residents of Blatten. I'll tell you about that. But also, we will see new pictures, how the Blatten Lake looks, how that debris cone looks. And the lake is not receding. The problem is, if you have a river pushing into the lake and then you only have a tiny outlet, and that outlet is threatened to be clogged by all that debris. That's why the military is on the upper part of the lake trying to collect all that debris. And on that debris cone that is there, they probably found the shepherd Tony. It's not identified that it's him, but it seems nobody else is missing. And you see a picture of him here. They have kind of like blurred the picture of him. I don't know why, because I think showing his picture is kind of also like keeping his legacy alive. So as it seems, because they have calculated the evacuation zone too small, he was probably in the stable. That's what they say, in his stable with his sheep when everything happened. And since this happened in 40 seconds, he didn't have a chance. And I want to show you a video that surfaced now that kind of shows how quickly the situation changed. Here we saw some minor glacier stuff breaking away from the glacier, mixing with some rock and water and debris, coming down towards the Lonza River, and for some reason miraculously stopping at the Lonza River and not going into the river and blocking it there already. But that was just the foreplay before then that big monstrosity of a landslide came down soon after that. But this is how things are going, right? That beautiful village of Blatten. So the population of Blatten is now protected from debt collectors. This is what they released today. They cannot be served temporarily. The Federal Council has decided this. So in order to further relieve the population of Blatten in financial difficulties, the Valais State Council has decided that a legal standstill, how they call it, should apply to the municipality of Blatten for the period of May 28th, since the landslide happened, to October 31st so far. So this means that people who want money from the residents, they can no longer prosecute the residents or serve them during this period. So debt enforcement proceedings are generally not possible. And this is usually something that they do. It has already been taken in previous natural disasters in Switzerland in 2005 and in 1993. So this is not a new thing, but I think it's a good thing for the residents. And that landslide in Blatten is an event that also makes experts sit up and take notice and wonder, what was that? And they're still wondering why did it all happen so immediately and so all at once, because it has never occurred before in Switzerland. So a very seasoned glaciologist and geologist talks about this almost unimaginable mass of rock, ice, mud, and water that has buried the village of Blatten and the hamlet of Ried on May 28th. And his name is Hans Rudolf Kleusen. He's a sought-after expert when it comes to assessing natural hazards in the mountains. And this is very, very important right now, because it seems all the mountains in the area, the Alps in Italy, in Switzerland, in Germany, in Austria, they seem to have a problem like this. So we could see more catastrophes like this. But also in Norway, in the fjords, the mountains there. But that comes with a tsunami, by the way. I have just released a video about a tsunami, 1,720 feet tall, 540 meter tsunami that was caused by a landslide falling into the water. And it could happen again at the same spot there, but also in other areas that you would not think that it could happen. So watch it in the end screen. So this geologist is already 84 years old, and he's a very, very experienced expert. And what happened in Blatten, he says, well, we know that it's basically a glacier collapse caused by a mountain collapse, a massive landslide from the Kleiner Nesthorn. So the rock material has pressed down on the glacier and has thrown it out of balance. But this is so unique. The combination of ice and rockfall in this form has never ever happened before in Switzerland. And he says, well, there are historic landslides, because people say, well, we had buried villages before, so what are you saying? So he says, yeah, we had the landslides that have buried villages like Goldau or Elm, which are similar, but the combination of ice and rockfall in Blatten is unique. And we're, by the way, waiting for another village to be destroyed, Brienz. It was barely spared a year and a half ago, but now it seems over and out any day. Check the video in the end screen. This landslide was getting very far. That's why it was way further than the originally calculated evacuation zone. And that's probably what sealed the fate of the shepherd Tony. Because as soon as ice is present, there's a lot of water. And water acts like a lubricant. It lies between the debris, and with that enormous pressure that was building up during a fall, this tremendous dynamic develops. That's why we have seen this massive landslide. So the water together with the debris has formed this wobbly mass, and that slid far, and that has expanded, burying everything beneath it. There's a criminal investigation going on about the fact that they didn't calculate the red zone large enough. I hope that's just a formality, because again, they didn't have experience with anything like this, and it was a blessing that they saw it coming and that everyone was evacuated. Yes, the shepherd, this is very, very tragic, but I think they did the best they could. Right now, there is the risk of further rockfalls, and we already see in videos that there's more coming down from the top of the Kleiner Nesthorn. That's why they have to be so super careful when they're working down there. And they also have to be careful because there's a lot of current from the Lonza River, but they have to keep that river flowing. This is essential, that the debris from the homes or logs or anything that they find there will not clog this little outlet, because then the lake will get bigger again, and there's still the risk this debris cone is not compacted or settled. So any changes or pressure against it could loosen larger chunks that could then flow down the river and be met at the Pferden Dam. They think that dam will hold, but you never know. Right now, they say what we're dealing with here is comparable to cities that were wiped out by a big earthquake and then be rebuilt. Yes and no, but an earthquake doesn't bury you like 300 feet with debris and rubble. That's the problem. They probably, well, pretty sure they have to rebuild somewhere else, not exactly where the debris cone is right now. So that was just a quick update for you. I urge you to check the videos in the end screen. Interesting stuff. I hope you're all doing great. If you want to support the channel, guys, go to my Buy Me a Coffee site, buymeacoffee.com/silky. Link is in the description. Leave me a message. I will answer with a 30-second video message so we can chat with each other. Thank you for your supers. Thanks for watching and sharing. And thanks to all my channel members. If you want to become a channel member for exclusive videos and stuff, click the join button or the links in the description of this video. You just need to scroll a little bit. See you guys. Bye-bye.